Picture this. You soar across the nation, driven by the desire to surprise your father at his retirement celebration. You invest in the venue, dedicating yourself to crafting an unforgettable experience, only to find yourself facing public humiliation at the hands of your own sister in front of the entire gathering. What if I revealed to you that this was not the conclusion? That a secret so explosive it could shatter your family was on the verge of unraveling, and I possessed the key to it all? Stay with me until the conclusion to uncover how I reversed the situation in the most surprising manner. My name is Hallen. I am 29 years old, and I suppose I have always been the outsider in my family for as long as I can recall. Not out of desire, but rather due to the way they made me feel during my formative years, as if I were a distant cousin, forever on the periphery, never truly belonging at the table. I was the silent observer, the one who immersed myself in stories rather than engaging in idle chatter in the kitchen, the one who ventured far after college, choosing not to return home for every holiday, only to face indifference upon my arrival. Upon securing a lucrative position in the tech industry a few years back, I'm talking about substantial earnings, not merely enough to cover rent, I held on to the hope that perhaps, at last, they would perceive me in a new light, grant me the respect I sought, or, at the very least, acknowledge me as a genuine member of the family. Yet, that was merely a flight of fancy. The tale begins at my father's retirement celebration, yet it concludes in a manner that none could have anticipated. Upon discovering that my father was retiring after 38 years dedicated to the noble profession of public school teaching, I felt a deep desire to create something truly significant. In spite of it all, my feelings remained. I contacted my sister, Helena, who remained in our hometown, and proposed to assist in organizing something special. She mentioned that she was already managing the situation and preferred not to have my involvement. That was the initial indication, yet I chose to dismiss it. A week later, I discovered via a Facebook post that the venue had collapsed and the caterer they had secured had backed out at the last moment. Thus, I entered. After making some inquiries, I discovered a charming local vineyard with availability, and I engaged a full-service caterer capable of crafting a personalized menu featuring my father's beloved dishes. Elevated comfort cuisine with a sophisticated flair. I covered all the expenses in advance, without requesting a single penny in return. I arranged a private flight, seizing the opportunity to arrive at the last moment and surprise him, all while juggling long hours of work leading up to the week of the celebration. On the day of the event, all appeared to be in flawless order. The tables were draped in rich navy and shimmering gold linens, the nostalgic hues of my father's old school, adorned with framed photographs capturing his journey from the early days of teaching to the present moment. All those who had once shared the corridors of work, the eager minds of students, and the familiar faces of neighbors gathered in unison. As I entered, smiles greeted me, and polite hugs enveloped me. Some even expressed their gratitude for my presence. Yet, Helena remained unaffected. She caught sight of me from the other side of the patio and gave a dramatic eye roll, as if I had just trampled through something unpleasant. I urged myself to look past it. From their earliest days, she had possessed that sharp, bitter quality. Perhaps she harbored resentment over my departure, or the fact that I was thriving now. I never quite grasped it. Throughout our childhood, she embodied the essence of a golden child, the individual who always stayed out of trouble, who competed at the state level in gymnastics, who everyone believed possessed true potential. That transformation occurred when I left home and began crafting a life uniquely my own. A life of tranquility, yet filled with goodness. As the evening unfolded, everything progressed smoothly for a time. Amidst the laughter, glasses clinked and memories were captured in photographs. I even witnessed my father smiling, truly content, which ignited a warmth within me that I had not anticipated. As the event drew to a close, an open mic was arranged, inviting individuals to step forward and share their thoughts in brief, heartfelt moments. Alumni recounted the profound impact he had on their lives. His former colleagues recounted amusing tales from their school days, the dynamics of the staff room, and the memorable snow days. It was truly a touching experience. Then, someone, perhaps one of Helena's friends, gestured in my direction, and remarked, "You flew all the way in for this, didn't you? It would be beneficial for you to share your thoughts as well." I found myself standing there, a touch taken aback, yet I had been contemplating my words all along. I had no intention of delivering an elaborate speech, merely a brief expression of gratitude, perhaps sharing a memory or two. I approached the microphone, a smile gracing my lips, and began with, "I simply wanted to express." In that moment, Helena rose from her chair, her voice cutting through the air with clarity, declaring for all to hear, "You don't get to pretend you're part of this family just because you have money now." With a glass of wine cradled in her hand, her voice dripped with smugness and a sharp edge. Silence enveloped the room, punctuated only by a few awkward chuckles from those uncertain of how to navigate the moment. I chuckled uneasily, pondering if perhaps she was jesting. Yet, she persevered. "After a decade of absence, you suddenly emerge, scarcely participating in anything, and now you seek to don the mantle of a hero? Simply take a seat." No one. All eyes were fixed upon me. Several cast their gazes downward, fixated on their plates. Silence enveloped the room, as if the air itself held its breath. Not even my father. He remained seated, chewing deliberately, as if oblivious to the unfolding events around him. And that, in some inexplicable way, struck deeper than Helena's words. He offered no defense, made no move to intervene, and showed not a hint of reaction. I inclined my head, offered a subtle smile, and made my way back to my seat. The microphone lingered in the air, alive yet enveloped in a profound stillness, resonating with an unspoken tension. That night, silence enveloped me. I remained, yet my voice was absent. I remained present for the cake cutting, the group photographs, and the moment when Helena delivered her speech, proclaiming herself as the one who truly understood Dad the most. A smile graced my lips. I offered a polite round of applause. As the crowd remained engrossed, I discreetly slipped away, retrieved my phone, and accessed the email draft I had meticulously composed the previous night, the one I had yet to dispatch. This was more than merely a retirement celebration for my father. It was meant to be the day I unveiled the surprise to him and Helena. The keys to the house I had purchased, a beautifully renovated craftsman just 3 blocks from Helena's own home, spacious enough for them to age gracefully without the burden of maintenance or stairs. I had already conferred with the realtor, and the paperwork awaited my signature. It was a present, one I chose to offer despite the countless moments they made me feel like an outsider. I wondered if, perhaps, this could be the turning point I had been waiting for. Instead, I pressed the send button. The correspondence was directed to the realtor, the title company, and the mortgage broker. "I kindly request that you withdraw the current offer. I have decided not to proceed with this purchase. I sincerely apologize for any inconvenience caused." In an instant, the house was no longer an option. However, that was merely the first step. For all my attempts to dismiss it and categorize it as just another blow, something within me shattered that evening. Something I had labored for years to mend. I began to observe the recurring theme that I had consistently overlooked. The subtle remarks, the unspoken distance, the manner in which Helena would often remark, "Well, Hallen's not truly present, so he wouldn't grasp it." Or how my father ceased his calls years back, yet continued to share weekly Facebook pictures featuring him and Helena's children. I came to understand that I was perpetually offering, endlessly striving, while they consistently received, only to harbor resentment towards me for it. And in that moment, I could no longer feign ignorance to its presence. They believed they had humiliated me, that I would retreat, engulfed in shame, and vanish once more. Little did they realize that as they raised their glasses in celebration of my absence, I was already plotting my next move, envisioning a strategy 10 steps ahead. I had no intention of simply canceling the house. I intended to retract every solitary thing I had ever discreetly offered. Each trust fund, each tuition supplement, every quiet contribution that illuminated the darkness when Helena's husband faced unemployment last year. I possessed the receipts. Literal ones. In the wake of the party, I began to reach out with a series of calls. However, I shall address that shortly. For it was in the following week that the first domino began its inevitable descent. A letter was the beginning of it all, neither an email nor a phone call. A missive, elegantly crafted on sumptuous, high-quality stationery, dispatched to my father's residence. It was crafted with a serene and deliberate choice of language. Calmness prevails, free from turmoil. Only the facts. I expressed my gratitude for the retirement celebration and remarked on the joy of seeing so many individuals who had played a significant role in his journey. Then I conveyed my decision to retract my offer on the new house, as it no longer seemed appropriate to invest in a place for a family that evidently did not regard me as one of its own. I concluded with a line that had been carefully considered and pondered over for quite some time. You once shared that a man's true value is revealed in the way he treats others when no one is observing. In that moment, amidst the laughter that filled the air while you remained quiet, I came to grasp the depth of my significance to you. I sent it off the morning following the celebration. The subsequent endeavor was the education fund I had discreetly initiated for Helene's 2 children. When her husband lost his job the year before, they found themselves in a state of panic regarding their finances. Helena had reached out to me, her voice trembling, expressing her uncertainty about how they would manage the mortgage payments, school fees, piano lessons, the entire suburban ideal she was so intent on maintaining. I had extended my assistance, but only with one stipulation. It shall remain solely between us. Silence prevails, devoid of any news or familial chatter. I established a 529 plan in my name, designating her as the guardian, and I had been making monthly contributions. I reached out to the financial advisor and had the contributions halted that very week. I refrained from altering what was already present in the account. I don't possess such cruelty. However, the auto deposit has ceased. What is the anticipated growth? Departed. Not a single word escaped my lips. I allowed the silence to linger. 3 days later, a message from Helena arrived on my phone. Helena, I just received an unusual email regarding the boys' college fund. Has there been an incident involving the bank? I chose not to reply. I simply expressed my appreciation for the message and moved on. She sent a voice note, her tone neither angry nor dismissive, but rather inquisitive. Helena, it's Helen. I'm not quite sure what's happening, but if this pertains to the other night, I believe you might be overreacting a bit. It was merely a jest. May we engage in a conversation? Negative. Regrettably, we were unable to do so. For the simple truth is that individuals like Helena often remain oblivious. Every jest has its origin. At times, that very root is decay. Several days later, I found myself logging into the old family group chat for the first time in almost a year. The individual I silenced after being inundated with images of Helena's children performing in school plays, while receiving no recognition for my significant promotion. I composed a solitary message. Greetings, I wanted to inform you that I am currently reflecting on the financial contributions and support I have extended throughout the years. Should anyone have inquiries, this is the moment to pose them. It felt as though I'd unleashed a live grenade within the confines of the group chat. Responses cascaded in. Father, Helen, what is this all about? Helena, hold on. What kind of support are you referring to? Enley, is there something amiss, my dear? Mother, at last interjecting, we do not take kindly to threats. I chose not to respond. I took the initiative to send every document I possessed to each of them, one by one. The record of transactions on Venmo, the receipts for tuition, the mortgage check from 2 years prior, a time when Helena and her husband teetered on the brink of losing their home. Each silent gesture of assistance they had conveniently overlooked. No response yet. Up until that fateful Sunday, a call came through from my father. For what felt like an eternity, I gazed at the screen before finally mustering the courage to respond. Hey, I stated with a flat tone. A moment of silence lingered in the air. His voice emerged, deliberate and measured. Helen, may we have a moment to converse? This situation has escalated beyond reasonable limits. Are you referring to the moment when your daughter embarrassed me, and you stood by without intervening? I declared, or perhaps the moment I resolved to no longer be regarded as merely a wallet with a heartbeat. I didn't laugh, he said, a hint of defensiveness in his voice. I remained silent, not wishing to draw attention to myself. I released a breath. Your silence spoke volumes, revealing a lack of concern that was palpable. That silenced him. I lingered in anticipation. At last, he spoke. I pondered. I believed you were offering us that house out of your own desire. I was indeed. Yet, the desire to do so does not imply that I will continue to allow you to regard me as a stranger indebted to you. Silence enveloped the scene. Then came the moment that hurt more than I had anticipated. Your actions were not requested by us. And there it stood, a presence both undeniable and profound. The hidden reality. The instant all my efforts for them were cast aside, not merely overlooked, but rendered meaningless. I ended the call. Silence prevails. There is no resolution. A mere whisper of a click. That evening, I filled a glass with my favorite drink, settled into my chair by the window of my apartment, and gazed out at the sprawling skyline. I felt no anger. Not any longer. I found myself wide awake. For the first time in my adult life, I found myself unburdened by the need to justify my choices to anyone. Yet, the repercussions were merely starting to unfold. For Helena harbored yet another secret she believed I remained oblivious to, and I was on the verge of ensuring that everyone discovered the truth. The secret was hardly concealed. Helena had perpetually been indifferent towards her digital footprint. Several months prior to the retirement celebration, she had contacted me in a state of distress. Once more, her husband found himself without a job. This time, it was not a layoff. He had been discreetly dismissed due to concerns regarding his conduct. She always refrained from sharing specifics, yet she would implore me to keep her secrets safe. She spoke with a brittle voice. Dad would be humiliated if people knew. Helen, I implore you, let this remain our secret. I did indeed. I stored it away, much like countless other items. Yet, after she had taken such deliberate steps to humiliate me before my family and a multitude of guests, I found myself unshackled from the loyalty she had never reciprocated. What is the truth? Her husband, Max Kevin, had not merely lost his job. He found himself ensnared in a scandal involving inappropriate messages exchanged with a 19-year-old intern at his workplace. Everything was concealed, hidden away from sight. No law enforcement was engaged. However, the HR report from the company was so critical that they had to issue a mutual separation agreement to mitigate any potential legal risks. It was clear to me that Max Kevin, in a lapse of judgment, had sent me the report while pleading for assistance with his rent. I had offered my assistance, naturally, as I believed I was acting in the best interest of the children. It is not meant for him, not intended for Aaron. I retrieved the file from my cloud archive and opened it with deliberate slowness. It stood there, prominently displayed at the summit. Voluntary separation, issues of conduct. Enclosed are the screenshots. Omitted? Indeed. Yet, the timeline was sufficient to provoke curiosity in anyone who took a closer look. Aaron had been aware. She had taken the time to compose a letter to the company on his behalf, attesting to his character. I experienced that as well. And the twist? They had taken the funds I provided, not solely for their rent, but also to secure a getaway to Maui a month down the line. It was only through Aaron's nostalgic Instagram post of a throwback photo from the trip that I discovered it. Captioned, "We have truly earned this respite after the tumultuous year we've endured." Only a few days have passed since our conversation regarding the struggle to make ends meet for groceries. I had preserved everything. At this moment, I have begun to arrange it. I had no desire to cast her in a negative light before others. Not at this moment. Yet, I found myself weary of always being the one to bear the blame. Weary of enduring family gatherings. She sat there with a self-satisfied smile. As her father lauded her for embodying strength, it felt as though I was merely a walking ATM, required to justify my presence at the table. I reached out to an attorney, not intended for legal proceedings, but rather to grasp what I might disclose and in what manner, should circumstances intensify. I had no intention of unleashing chaos unless absolutely compelled to do so. Yet, I yearned to be prepared. They were simplifying the process remarkably. A week after I had frozen the college fund and retracted the house offer, another group message arrived. This moment comes from my mother. "Mother, I find myself perplexed by your recent actions. This is not the way a family should conduct itself. Erin claims that you are attempting to undermine her existence. Your support has been unwavering from the very beginning. What has prompted you to turn against us at this moment? The irony was almost enough to elicit a chuckle from me. Did you offer your support to me? Birthdays were overlooked. My graduation was overlooked by them. Not a single visit from them since I relocated to the city. My success has perpetually existed as this uneasy subject, one they preferred to avoid in conversation. Excessively distant from their quaint, small-town values. Exceedingly foreign to their perspective, I was the sophisticated sibling. The one who was always tense. The one who departed and found inspiration. Yet, I chose not to reply. I simply bided my time. As they stirred up drama in group texts and informed extended family of my supposed transformation, I embarked on a deliberate and measured journey to reclaim every ounce of influence I had subtly surrendered to them over the years. Similar to the cabin. When our grandfather departed from this world, he bequeathed a humble lakeside cabin to be shared equally among his children. Erin wept, expressing her inability to manage the expenses and implored me to assume complete responsibility. I legally acquired half of her share. She allocated the funds to renovate her kitchen. Yet, the family continued to refer to it as Erin's cabin. They even held family barbecues there, leaving me out of the invitation. I have never voiced a complaint. I thought, why not let them savor the moment? That moment has passed. I have submitted a notice to the HOA, formally revoking access for anyone not listed on the deed. That referred to Erin. An inspection has been scheduled. Subsequently, I arranged for a comprehensive rekeying of the locks. An uncomplicated issue. Silence. Pristine. I chose not to make an announcement. I simply allowed it to unfold. It was precisely 2 weeks before Erin became aware. Erin sent a message. What is this, Hallen? What is preventing us from entering the cabin? This weekend held promises of plans yet to unfold. I responded. This cabin no longer belongs to you. It has been 3 years since my last visit. Examine the documentation. She attempted to deceive, menaced with the prospect of involving legal counsel, charged me with being spiteful and childish. I forwarded her a PDF containing the title transfer, complete with her signature. Subsequently, I severed all communication by blocking her number. After that, a hush fell over everything. Yet, just for a fleeting moment, then arrived the day of Dad's birthday. A month has passed since the celebration of his retirement. I refrained from making the call. No gift was sent. Didn't even send a message. The weight of that silence must have struck deeper than anything I had experienced up to that point. I was certain of it. The following morning, I received a voicemail from him. His voice was weary, empty. Hallen, I recognize that our relationship has had its share of challenges. This has crossed the line. Family remains united. I sincerely hope this isn't a lasting situation. It's amusing how the absence of sound can sting, especially when one is accustomed to being listened to. I chose not to delete the voicemail. I simply took a moment to be present with it. For once, they found themselves grappling with an interpretation of me that eluded their grasp. Yet, not a single one of them had an inkling of what lay ahead. For Helena had concealed a truth far more volatile. The individual who revealed it to me was not an unfamiliar face. It came from within the family circle. Upon their reaching out, the words they shared transformed everything. It was my cousin Jacob who made the first move to connect. Our bond was not particularly strong during our formative years. Jacob was a handful of years younger, perpetually the reserved presence at family gatherings. Engrossed in his camera or sketchpad, he remained detached as others engaged in discussions about careers, marriages, or which child garnered the most attention. Yet Jacob perceived matters differently. Observed details. He possessed an uncanny ability to recall every detail that others believed would slip from his memory. One evening, he reached out to me unexpectedly. Jacob sent a message, saying, "Hey, I hope this isn't too strange, but I've been observing all the family drama unfold from afar. I believe it's important to share some insights regarding Helena. I possess the evidence." That piqued my interest. We engaged in a conversation over the phone. His voice trembled with uncertainty, not from fear, but rather due to his evident unfamiliarity with being at the center of anything, especially this. He shared with me that he once freelanced for a private accounting firm, assisting small businesses in organizing their finances, primarily dental practices, bakeries, and similar establishments. 2 years prior, Helena sought his assistance in organizing the financial records for a modest nonprofit of which she served as treasurer, an endeavor known as Books for Every Home, a literacy initiative initiated by her PDA. Jacob explained that she referred to it as volunteer work. However, numerous receipts were absent, numerous peculiar withdrawals. I inquired about it. She reassured me, insisting that everything was entirely above board. However, Hallen, I revisited it not long ago. This is something you must witness. A folder was sent to me by him. Within the confines of the folder lay spreadsheets, PDF statements, and an image of a check that Helena had drawn from the nonprofit's account, addressed to herself. $6,000. Designated as reimbursement for childcare. Jacob's voice fell to a whisper. I remained silent at that time because, truthfully, I wished to avoid any unnecessary conflict. However, witnessing the way she has treated you, I find myself unable to remain silent. That $6,000 was merely the beginning of a much larger story. In the days that followed, Jacob assisted me in uncovering nearly $18,000 in unexplained expenditures, ambiguous administrative charges, payments made to consultants lacking surnames, and Amazon purchases categorized as supplies that were delivered to her residence. I meticulously cross-referenced several of the order confirmations with Helena's Pinterest page. She shared images of her newly acquired patio furniture shortly after the purchases were finalized. It was far more than merely dubious. It was against the law. I pondered over the information for 2 days. I remained uncertain about my desires. Retribution? Perhaps. Yet, beyond all else, I yearned for the truth to be laid bare for all to see. I wished for the narrative to unfold organically, not dictated by my prose, but revealed through her actions as they finally emerged into the light. I released my grip on the steering wheel. I forwarded the complete folder to the current board chair of the nonprofit, a woman named Yako, who was unaware that Helena had ever played a role in the organization. Her reply came in just 2 hours. Yako, this matter demands our utmost attention. I appreciate you taking the time to share this. We shall address it without delay. A formal audit was initiated within a span of 48 hours. Helena found herself in receipt of a notice from the board, seeking clarification and accompanying documents for each expense she had submitted throughout her tenure as treasurer. She remained silent. Her sudden disappearance only fueled their curiosity, prompting them to search even further. By the week's conclusion, I learned that the board had reached a unanimous decision to inform the state's Charity Oversight Commission about the discrepancies. It was not long after that. After 3 weeks, the tale emerged in the pages of the local newspaper. A former treasurer of the PDA is currently under scrutiny for the alleged misappropriation of funds. Initially, the article refrained from mentioning her name. Yet, the comments section? They were aware. The townsfolk began to piece together the puzzle swiftly. Previous parents from the school, along with volunteers from earlier events, started to join the conversation. There was always an air of mystery about her. Didn't she purchase a hot tub last year? I recall inquiring about the whereabouts of the funds when they decided to cancel the reading fair. Initially, my mother sought to minimize the situation. It was merely a misunderstanding, she remarked in the family group chat. They are exaggerating the situation. Yet, the screenshot conveyed a different story. Just when I believed the chapter had closed, a call came through from the bank overseeing the children's college fund. It appears that Helena had sought to move the remnants of the $529 into another account, one registered in her name. Absent my approval, she attempted to assert that I had forsaken it. The advisor raised a red flag and contacted me without delay. In that moment, I lost my composure. I arranged a Zoom meeting with my attorney, the financial consultant, and the fund manager. The beneficiary has been updated, and the remaining funds have been transferred into a private trust, a realm forever beyond Helena's reach. The children would still come into their inheritance upon reaching the age of 18. Yet, this would only come to fruition if they truly dedicated themselves to the task at hand. Only if they desired to distance themselves from her entirely. A clause has been added. Should either child permit their parents to access the funds prior to reaching the age of 18, those funds would be redirected as a scholarship donation. Trivial? Perhaps. Yet just, I believe that would mark the conclusion of the matter. Yet Helena had more to say. She arrived at my apartment. The sun began its descent, casting a warm glow over the horizon. I had just returned from a jog. I pushed the door ajar, and there she stood, a vision before me. With her arms crossed and sunglasses firmly in place, she appeared ready to face whatever challenge lay ahead. "You had no right," she said, her voice cutting through the silence, devoid of even a simple greeting. I remained still. What right is being questioned? To prevent you from taking from a charitable organization? Or perhaps from your children? Her jaw clenched with determination. Do you believe yourself to be a hero? For years, Hallen, you have subjected us to relentless punishment, merely because we chose not to shower you with adoration. A chuckle escaped my lips. Negative. For years, I have been at your side, offering my assistance. In hushed stillness, you desecrated every fragment of it. As she began to articulate her thoughts, I interrupted her. You brought me shame in front of Father. You ridiculed me before unfamiliar faces. So now, you're attempting to assume the role of the victim? Fury surged within me as she snapped. You enter with your wealth and an air of superiority, as if you stand above the rest of us. You have always done so. And yet, you never seemed to have an issue accepting my money, did you? Her silence lingered in the air. Her gaze darted elsewhere. I moved to the side and gestured toward the elevator. It would be best for you to depart. I merely wished to. Negative. I expressed my thoughts with a steady yet resolute demeanor. Your desire was to triumph. Yet, this is no mere game. Your life is unfolding before you, Helena, and for once, I refuse to be the one keeping it all together for you. She exited in silence, leaving no further words behind. And just like that, the door, both in the physical realm and in the depths of our connection, shut firmly between us. The repercussions were immediate. The nonprofit submitted official charges to the state authorities. Helena found herself without a position at the real estate agency where she had been employed. In small towns, negative news spreads like wildfire. Her husband attempted to frame it as a matter of cancel culture, yet his words fell on deaf ears. Individuals began to withdraw from one another. The family, initially fragmented, slowly fell into silence. No one wished to be linked to the chaos. Once more, Dad reached out. This time, I answered the call. I had no idea, he remarked. I understand, I responded. I ought to have defended you. On that particular evening, a lengthy silence enveloped the room. He expressed a desire for just one night free from any drama. Yet, I perceive it now. The burden has been yours to bear for quite some time now. Indeed, I did. I possess. He cleared his throat, a subtle prelude to the words that were about to follow. Once more, I found myself immersed in your letter, the one you forwarded following the gathering. Teardrops fell from my eyes. Words eluded me. That took me by surprise. We have let you down. Hallen, I have let you down. It marked the inaugural occasion he had ever uttered words of that nature. Uncertain if it would alter the course of everything, yet it marked the beginning of something new. In the ensuing months, I maintained my distance. The fabric of the family had been irrevocably altered. Helena and her husband relocated to a neighboring town. I occasionally received word from Jacob. We once shared a lunch together. He mentioned that he had begun journaling once more. He remarked that witnessing all of this unfold served as a poignant reminder of the importance of truth-telling, even in moments of discomfort. What about me? A sense of liberation washed over me. In a moment that marks a new chapter in my existence, I felt more than just a shadow striving to find my place at the table. I was certain of my identity, what I had offered, what I could no longer endure. There are those who will listen to this tale and believe I crossed a line. Some may believe I fell short of my potential. Yet, for me, this was never about vengeance. It was a journey of rediscovering my voice. For in certain moments, turning away does not signify frailty. At times, it may be the most powerful act you will ever undertake. At times, it is your silence that resonates as the most profound truth they will ever encounter. If this family drama captivated your attention, be sure to click that like button to express your appreciation. Pass this tale along to friends who appreciate a captivating twist, and feel free to share your reflections in the comments. Have you ever encountered a family betrayal of this nature? Join our channel and activate the notification bell to receive a steady stream of Reddit tales, perfect for drifting off to sleep. Together, we shall cultivate this community until we meet again in the next video.